2005 Mercedes C240 valve cover replacement. I'm Brian Essick from How To Automotive. I'm going to walk you through that process. I'm going to start by removing the first half of the air cleaner. You pop straight up on the sides and then pull back towards you. Set that next, you pull the air ducts off like that. Then you can grab on both sides of it and pull and lift. And then the whole air cleaner assembly will come off. So now I'm going to finish, go ahead and finish popping these off. And just pull them off, left and right side. So now what we're going to do is we're going to unplug our coils here, and they have little squeeze tabs here. And what I like to do is push the connector in towards the coil itself, and then push the squeeze tab down, and then pull it off. And do all three of them. And then also, this one's been done before, but normally there's a little zip tie that's tying these wiring harness to the coils. I'm going to cut that zip tie off, if yours has it. Before we get too carried away, I wanted to show you the part numbers. So here's the valve covers for the left and right valve covers. Here's the part numbers. Okay, and then we're also going to replace hoses that go to the top of the valve covers, and they go under the mass air here and on both sides. And the reason why is over the years they get rock hard, and you won't be able to take them on and off. They'll break on you. So these are the part numbers. So there's 4 of the hoses, I believe, in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 of them in total. So here's the part numbers for you guys, in case you're interested. Okay, now that that's taken care of, we can go ahead and take the wire harnesses and just kind of flip them out of the way. We're going to do both sides at the same time. So now what we need to do is take the torques that are holding the coils in. We're going to take the bolts out, and we're going to take the coils and just flip them down here underneath the on top of the exhaust manifold. So if you drove it in, you might want to let it cool down just a little bit before you do this. So you can take the coils, just flip them down there. So now I'm going to take a razor blade and make a little incision on this hose, and then take a screwdriver or whatever and pry it off. Like this. And I'm going to do the same thing. So the driver's side has 2 hoses here, so you're going to cut that one off and then cut this one off. So now you're going to need a E10 female Torx bit, and you're going to start like here at this corner and start going around and take out all the bolts, all the E10s. You see all the way around, and you're going to do that for both valves. My setup to do that is going to use a little air ratchet with a little extension and just start taking them out. Now that you got all the bolts out, you can crack the valve cover free. On the passenger side, it's really easy. You just lift it out. On the driver's side, you're going to have to lift this vacuum line off, and also you're going to have to crack the fuel line, remove the fuel line. So take a 17mm wrench and unscrew it, and then you'll take this fuel line and flip it out. A little bit of gas is going to drain out, so before you take the valve cover, let it drain out a little bit, and then after that you can crack the valve cover free and work it out. Now that you got the valve covers off, you need to clean up the mating surface on the cylinder heads, and so when you wipe, you want to try to wipe the dirt away from the cylinder head and wipe it away like that, and on the bottom also. And I'm going to use a combination of rags, a little bit of brake clean, and wipe all the surfaces on the edge here all clean, and try to get all the oil off of them. And I'll do that for both sides. As you can see, the old valve cover gasket actually stayed in there, so remove all that stuff. And then after you get that cleaned up, then you're going to switch your focus to cleaning up the actual valve covers itself. So I like to clean up all. I like to pressure wash it. If you have a parts washer or whatever, I recommend you use that. And then after we get that done, we're going to separate these top half of the valve cover have a vent. They're like a venting system for the PCV system. So we're going to pull these Torx out, and we're going to pull the caps off. So we're going to do that on both valve covers after we get it cleaned up. And then there's going to be silicone in here. We're going to have to clean all that silicone out. And after we get that all done, we're going to re-silicone this top cover back on, and then put these two bolts, the two little Torx bolts back in. Okay, after getting your surfaces cleaned up, now you can go ahead and change these hoses out. And the easiest way to do it on the driver side is actually to take the mass airflow sensor out. So, and then right here they have these little catches. So what you do is with a screwdriver, you pry this upwards a little bit, and it'll spring apart like that. And then on the back side of the mass airflow sensor, let's see if I can get this back here. There's a little metal clip, and you pry that towards the firewall, and then it's just in a rubber grommet. Then you can wiggle the mass airflow sensor out. And then once you get the mass airflow sensor out, then you can get to all the rubber hoses, the vent lines here, and you can change them out. And I like to use a razor blade and make a little cut on them, but on the inside here, and then take them off. And then I'll do one at a time. So I'll replace the big one here first. And the reason why you got to do it now is when the valve cover's on there, it's like almost impossible to get them under there. So you change them now, and then when you put your valve covers in, you kind of have to hold these out of the way, like that, when you put the valve cover back on. But so I actually just left the mass air sensor plugged in, and then I flared these out, and then popped the little clip off the back here, like I said, and then kind of just flipped it out of my way. So now you can follow your hoses around, make your little incision here, and pop the hoses off here. And then the bigger hose is the one a little bit lower here, and so you'll remove that and replace that too. So the big one here on the driver's side, popped it off right here with the screwdriver, and then it's attached to the brake vacuum booster hose here. So I'm going to make a little incision right there and cut it, and then separate it. I don't want to pry on this plastic line here and break it, so what I want to do is make cuts on there so it'll come off easily. So as you can see, I was just able to make a little cut, and that was enough. And I used a screwdriver to push it, and then with my other hand I held the plastic line here to stabilize it, to kind of hold it in place and stabilize it while I took the hose off that nipple down there. But these can get brittle and break easily, so it's definitely a two-hand job, and a little tricky. But once you get it out, then you can go ahead and route the new one back through, like so, and plug in the big end in first into the side of the throttle body there, and then you can plug in the smaller hose. Okay, now that you got the bigger vent line back on and plugged back in, and it was easier to put the big part on, and I was able to stick my hand down in here like this to get it. There's just enough room to get it in there. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to put the smaller vent line on the driver's side here, and it's going to be in this little loom, so you pop it downwards out and kind of give it a push, and now you can follow it around. So there's this little T right here in the plastic T, and we need to separate it from the plastic T. And I'm going to make an incision right here at the plastic T, and then pull this off. And this is actually two hoses here. It has a little T in the middle here that connects it together, but I'm going to cut it here and then pull both of them out as a one piece, and then we'll assemble it together as one piece, and then put it back in there and plug it back onto the T here. And then also on the opposite side of the T, you can make the incision here and take the hose off for the passenger side vent. So that's what the T down there will look like once you get them both cut off. So I got them cut off, and I'm gonna kind of just route it through like so. And there's little catches inside there and stuff that's gonna catch on. So now what I'm gonna do is, if you look on them, they have these little squares. So I'm gonna make incisions right here, and there's a little a T right here that holds them together. So I'm gonna make some incisions there and separate the two there, and then when you line up the two new ones, you line up the square with the square, and then you'll get a shape like that. Then after you get that done, you can route it back through there, plug it back in onto your T, and then hook it back into your wire looms here. And also on the back side, there's going to be these little catches, little ears where they rest in. So make sure you put them back into those. Now that you got all the rubber hoses, vent hoses reconnected, make sure you got it tucked up inside the this plastic loom here. You can lift it up a little bit. Now you're gonna go ahead and reinstall your mass airflow sensor. So you make sure that it stands into the rubber grommet there, and then the hook on the back hooks over, and then these ears you're gonna flare that. Mine pop back together, so you're gonna flare that back apart if yours did, and then you're gonna hook them on the inside, right here and right here, with these little ears right here. And once they're all connected on there, then we're ready to start putting the valve, or finishing up the valve covers. So now I took the covers off of the valve covers. On the driver's side one with the cap, it has three screws, three Torx. Let's see what's that there. C240 Torx. So I went ahead and removed those, and now I'm going to use a wire brush to clean out the channels. I'll use a pick tool, something like this, maybe even a pocket screwdriver, and clean all the channels right here. And also on the where the bolts go through, there's silicone in here, so you're going to clean those out. You know, clean that on the valve cover part. You'll clean the valve cover, pull the silicone out, maybe run a wire brush around this, wipe it down with some brake clean, and then after that we're going to fill this up, fill the groove up with black silicone. And we'll put black silicone around the groove, and we'll put black silicone on the nipples here, just a little bit, and then we'll put this back on, and we'll reinstall the torque screws. And these don't have very much torque on them at all. It's just run them down, and then kind of a little snug, just a little snug fit. That's all you need. The main clamping force will come through the large bolts that go through the valve cover. So you want to fill up the channels on the caps with black silicone, just thin layer like this. And you also want to get the little bolt holes, fill those up too. And then I like to use black silicone made by Permanex called the Right Stuff. Works really well. I've been using it for years, and it's one of the best I've ever found on the market. So once you get that, once you get the cleaned up, and then get the silicone put back in, go ahead and put it on. And like I said, just put the little screws back in, and not very much torque at all, just light, just snug with your hands. That's all you need. And the main clamp, like I said before, the main clamping comes through the bolts. So now you can put your valve cover gasket back on the valve cover itself. And I like to do is kind of give them a little shake test, and if the valve covers fall off really easily, then you can use a little black 3M weather adhesive glue and put it on, but mine are staying on pretty good. And these valve covers are not terribly hard. The only other thing I like to do is I'm going to put a little dab of black silicone just in the corners of the gasket, of the cam lobes here. And then double check that my surfaces are clean. Sometimes the oil will run off the rocker arms, or run down over your surface where you're. So I'll wipe that down one final time. Then I'll go ahead and slip the valve cover. I'm gonna do the passenger side first. It's the easiest one. I'm gonna go ahead and put that on first, and then once I get it on, once the valve cover's back on, I'll start like a couple of the longer bolts that went through the cover here, and then just to hold it in place, and I'll leave it all loose. Then I'll use my mirror, and I'll check around the whole valve cover, and make sure that the gasket didn't slip off or slip inside of the cylinder head. So I double check it all the way around to make sure it's all the way on. And once I'm confident it's in the right place, I'll go ahead and start the rest of the bolts, and then I'll tighten them down, and I'll start from the center. So I'll tighten this one here, 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 and back and forth like this. And these have these little shoulders, so they'll tighten all the way down until they stop. And so once you get them all the way down, then you just have to snug them up a little bit. You don't have to super crank down on them. And that's it. And then after you get that done, you can go ahead and plug in your vent hose here, and put your coils back on, and bolt the coils back on, and plug your wiring harness back on for your coils. And that'll complete the passenger side. And then the driver's side, I'll walk you through that step too. Okay, now we're ready to put the driver's side in. And the same thing, if it's falling out or whatever, you can use a little thin layer of 3M weather adhesive and glue it in. The only difference between this side and the other side is this one has a few more areas to snag on, so I'm going to have somebody hold this out of the way for me, kind of lift these out of the way, and then I'll put it in and bolt it, and then I'll check it again with the mirror, and if everything's good, I'll bolt it up and torque it down, and then put the coils on. After you put the coils on, then you can put plug your vent lines back on, and then you're gonna have to put your fuel line back on and tighten it down. Okay, now that you got the valve cover back on and all the fuel lines retightened and the vent lines all plugged back in, coils all plugged back in, that pretty much completes the job of replacing the valve cover gaskets on a 2005 Mercedes C240. I'm Brian Essa from How To Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching my videos and encourage you to subscribe for more valuable videos like this. Thank you again.